Hello everybody, it's Dio from Firm But Fair Gaming bringing you another video. Enjoying all the videos and content we produce, don't forget to click on that subscribe button, click on that like button, and don't be afraid to share. Don't forget to click on the notification button, customize it however you want, but that way you're notified whenever we publish another video. Hello everybody, welcome to another Diablo 3 video here in Season 27. We are back on the Demon Hunter and we're going to be taking a look at the UE set, so the Unhallowed Essence. Just to remind people if they're unfamiliar with the build, so the 2-piece is your generators generate 2 additional hatred and 1 discipline. 4 pieces gain 60% damage reduction and deals 60% increased damage for 8 seconds if no enemies within 10 yards of you. And lastly, the 6 pieces, your generators, Multishot and Vengeance deal 350% increased damage for every point of discipline you have. So we're going to jump into this. This is also the set I believe you get from Hadric. I believe, yes, that's right. I haven't claimed mine yet, so I wasn't 100% familiar. So if you're just starting out and you're leveling the Demon Hunter, this would be the default set that you get. So without further ado, let's just jump into a GR and show you what the build looks like in action. Okay, here we go. So I will say first off, we are only in a 100, and the reason for this is not the strongest pushing build that is out there for Demon Hunters. So if you're looking to clear high GRs, this is probably not the build you want. I do not have an augmented set. I'll be lucky if I even have 1 piece augmented, like maybe my weapon. This is more of a low level build, so this is the starter set you get from Hadrix. And at the leaderboard right now, at the tail end of the first week, people with a fully augmented set and level 120 gems are only doing like the 120s, whereas with the Impale set, or even the Impale set and the Marauder set, like people are clearing much higher than that. So if you're looking for high GRs, this is not the one that you want. But if you're looking for just a different build to play, this is still, it can do the 120s. You'll have to have full gears out for that, but it is a possibility. This is a range-based build, so with Zai, and plus we have our set bonus where we want to have enemies outside 10 yards. So there is a lot of dancing to the outside. And as you can see, I keep getting just nicked by an arrow, and my health does drop quite significantly, so you are fairly squishy, which is part of the issue with pushing higher. Also, we really only deal tons and tons of damage once things get below 60%, because we got a double, like our offhand, our quiver hits things twice. So the trick is getting them down that low. So sometimes that takes a bit of time. Now we're just gonna finish this guy off. Juggernaut. Oh, and just like that, that squishy just got touched there and fell over. Alright. Not the quickest build either. Sure, we're spinning, but other than we don't have tons and tons of movement like some of the other builds. So I gotta constantly be shooting my entangling shot to keep my hatred up. Otherwise, it's just going to, I'll spin myself dry, and then, you lose that little bit of speed burst and AoE damage, because then you won't be able to strafe. Because, of course, the sanctified modifier that we're having is that strafe shoots our last non-channeled hatred spender, which is going to be our multi-shot. I'm just trying to avoid all the poisonous things that are the frost and the actual poison on the ground. If you do get some distance and you have the hatred to spend, you can just sit there and just free shoot it. Missing the rest of those blues that I was working on. That's where he is. There we go. I was looking for that one. We're doing okay. Again, yes, I know this is only a 100. Died there the once when we got punched in the face by the Juggernaut. But like I was saying, this isn't an endgame build by any means. Just medium level, kind of a farming build. It does alright in 75s, and like obviously doing T16, you'll do alright there. It's got some speed, but there are better builds out there. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun with this. Alright. Stay out of the fire and the poison. I'm doing a good job at that. There's another channeling. That to blow up. Yeah, so if you're finding that you're running out of hatred, it just means that you gotta spam your bolas, your entangling shot more. I don't know why I said bolas. Go. See, once we get going, I mean, oh, we have the power as well. So it's not, excuse me, it's not bad if we can actually stay at the distance. Like, here, I'll show on the Guardian here. So let's spin around, Perdition, get my entangling shot up. Now we're just going to go to range. Oh, he would actually let me sit here. And we'll just kind of nuke away on him. I figured that he would tag me there. So it's not too bad. So that's 100, just under 5. Like I was saying, not the speediest pushing build, but it is okay. 7 blood shards. I think I'll just leave it. Anyways, that's enough about the gameplay. Now let's go over the skills and items and all that stuff you need for the build. Alright, let's go over the items in this build. So we are wearing 5 pieces because we are also wearing Captain Crimson. So obviously that means we're using the Ring of the Royal Grandeur in the cube. So we got the helm, shoulders, chest, hands, and then either the legs or boots. That all depends on whichever you have the better rolls. Obviously I found a primal pants, so therefore I'm going to go with the Crimson's, Captain Crimson's belt and boots. So for those who aren't familiar with Captain Crimson, so the 2 pieces we get a little bit of life per second regen, but mainly it's reduced cooldowns by 20% and reduce all resource costs by 20%. And the 3 piece is damage delta is increased by our percent of cooldown reduction, and our damage taken is reduced by our percent of cost reduction. For our jewelry in our neck, we're using squirts. So the actual damage is fire, but I didn't have another squirts lying around, so I was just using this one that had physical on it. Ideally, we would reroll that to fire, but of course, squirts is while not taking damage. Damage delta is increased by up to 100%, and damage taken is increased by up to 50. So this is the buff down here. So as you don't take damage, you get the stack. Each stack is 10%. So at 10, we're dealing 100% more damage, but then we're going to take the 50% more damage. For our, just to conclude our jewelry, so for our rings, we're using restraint and focus. So this is the Bastions of Will. So when we hit with a resource generating attack or primary skill, we deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. And when we hit with a resource spending attack, we deal 50% increased damage for 5 seconds. Then for our bracers, we're using the Wraps of Clarity. So for this, it's our hatred spenders reduce our damage taken by up to 50%. And again, ideally, we want to roll fire damage on that. Then for our quiver, we're using the Dead Man's Legacy. So multi-shot hits enemies below 60% twice, and its damage is increased by up to 200%. The more I look at my gear, the more I realize how bad it is. And then for our bow, we're using Yang's Recurve. So this is because of the reduces all resource cost by 50%. That is on there. We also have multi-shot attacks 50% faster, and its damage is increased by 200%, so double win there. And then, of course, we Sanctify, where Strafe now casts the last channeled, non-channeled hatred spending ability cast, so that's where we're going to use our multi-shot. For the legendary gems that we're using, we are using Bane of the Traps. So this is increased damage against enemies under the effects of control and parrying effects by a certain percent. And then at rank 25, we gain an aura that reduces the movement speed of enemies within 15 yards by 30%, thus triggering the effect that we're going to get the bonus damage from. We are also using Stricken, so Bane of the Stricken. Each attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from your attacks by X%. And so that stacks, so like if it was 1, then 2, 3, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then at rank 25, we gain 25% increased damage against bosses and Rift Guardians. And then lastly, as mentioned in the gameplay, we're going to be using Stone of Vengeance, so damage we deal is increased by X% for every 10 years between you and your target. and to a max of 50 yards. So 10% at 10 yards and then 50% at 50 yards, for example. Then at rank 25, we have a 20% chance on hit to stun the enemy for 1 second. Taking a look at our cube, we are using Odyssey's End. So enemies snared by your entangling shots take 150% increased damage from all sources. So that's what we're using to generate our hatred. So that's nice there. We're also using the Mantle of Channeling. So while channeling, basically while we're strafing, we're going to deal 25% increased damage and take 25% less damage. Then lastly, as mentioned, we're using the Ring of Royal Grandeur so we can wear the 2 different sets. So this reduces the number of items needed for set bonuses by 1. Lastly here, let's go over the skills that we need in this build, or at least the ones I was using. So we're using Vengeance with Dark Heart, so this is going to give us our damage reduction while the CD is up. We're using Prep with Invigoration, so it permanently increases our maximum discipline, and the reason we want that is because the more discipline we have, the more damage we're going to deal. We're using Strafe with Drifting Shadow, so it just shoots at enemies while moving at full speed. Then we're using Entangling Shot with Chain Gang, so it's going to shoot up to 4 enemies, slowing them, and then that's going to work with our passive Call of the Week. To give us more damage, we are using Smokescreen with Displacement, so vanish from sight for a limited time, and we're going to get some movement speed. And then, of course, we're using Multishot with Arsenal, so fire a massive volley of arrows in an arc, and every time you fire, launch multiple homing rockets as well. So that'll be what I'll be shooting while we're strafing around. For our passes, we're using Steady Aim. As long as there are no enemies within 10 yards, all damage is increased by 20%. So we need to be outside 10 yards anyways for our set. And then Ballistics, we're going to increase the damage of our rockets, so the rockets that are from our multi-shot. We also have 20% chance to fire a homing rocket for 150% of our weapon damage when we attack. Call of the Week, increased damage against slowed or chilled enemies, so that's going to work with Chain Gang on our Entangling Shot. And then Ambush, we're going to deal 40% additional damage to enemies above 75% health because we want to get them below the 60% where we can start dealing double damage with our quiver. This brings us to the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments about the build, please let me know. I just want to reiterate, this is not a strong pushing build, but it is a fun kind of quick speed build for the lower GRs and farming bounties and that sort of thing. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. As always, we appreciate any likes, shares, and subscribes, so please click those buttons. And also, we're streaming on Twitch on Thursdays and Saturdays as well. Probably you may find us some other days throughout the week, depending on what we get up to. But those are going to be our for sure days. So come check us out on Twitch. Come hang out. Let's run some keys and have some fun. So until next time, I hope you're enjoying Diablo 3 Season 27. And we'll see you in the next video and hope to see you on Twitch.